Thank you for attending the workshop. This is the third day, 13 days. This is the middle of the day on the third day. I have a book with me called Speaker for the Dead. And if you have any questions about the book, or anything else about the workshop, anything else you want to know, or have just a reflection, just talk to me. Anyway, I'm going to read it a little bit, not the whole book. Because back in 2004, I did a 2-day workshop in Mohonk, New York. Jose Riggio had a 4-day workshop. He let me lecture in 2 days. And one of the prerequisites for the class I was doing there was to read the book Ender's Game. And a lot of people did read the book and didn't understand it, or what the relationship was with me and my teaching. Anyway, and if you need the translation from English to Swedish, let me know. I can do both languages. Så om ni behöver översätta på danska så är det bara sätt. I can do both languages, translate to Swedish och svenska och engelska. So just yeah. Okay? You understand that? And for you listeners and viewers out in Europe or in Australia or just in Bengali or America or Canada. Canada is a wonderful place, by the way. A lot of French people there. They couldn't stand America after the war, so they had to go to Canada. That's the way I understand it. And people say, well, you know, there was a French general who signed the, you know, after the war and all that. But a lot of French people in the war. Anyway, Speaking for the Dead is a sequel, but it didn't begin, this is the author writing, but it didn't begin live that way. You don't have to read it that way either. It was my intention all along for Speaker to be able to stand alone. For it to make sense whether you have read Ender's Game or not. Indeed, in my mind, this was the real book. If I hadn't been trying to write Speaker for the Dead back in 1983, there would never have been a novel version of Ender's Game at all. This book arrived as a response from the author about death and funerals. Speaking of the Dead, it's a science fiction book. It's about the human race killing every alien they were encountering in the universe. In this case, it was a hive queen. Hive is an insectoid alien race, and it was a mistake. The alien race didn't think about the same thing as we do, so the alien race managed to kill a human fleet of ships. And the human race had to, in their defense, trying to kill all the aliens. And Ender's Game is the book where they took children from the street and trained them to be warriors in a future war, remotely controlled. So the Earth sends spaceship into space to the alien worlds, but they have to have extremely good leadership, strategy. So they took these kids and put them through hell boot camp, so they could learn to think in a leadership way, in a strategic way. What happens in the Ender's Game book, during the training, they change the rules of the training. So when the Ender's group of boys become good, the best of the best, and started to win every encounter the military threw at them, they started to change the rules. So the next encounter they was doing, they had to change the rules. And Ender said that that's unfair. You can't do that. And they respond to God, we are adults, we can do anything we want. And Ender and his boys adapted to the challenge. So they won the games, and they won the games. And they adapted again, and they won it. And finally, they were sitting in a space simulator against the bugs, as it was calling them. And for them, that was just a game. And they won the war by killing every pilot in the spaceship on Earth had sent out. And when Ender understood that, he went on and became a speaker for the dead. It's a great story in this book and in the previous book if you like science fiction. If you don't like it, who cares? Anyway, the author here is as definitive edition of this. And some people say, well, what has science fiction to do with RBIM, the realization behavior integration model, which you have been there for 3 days. There's a lot of people there, by the way, you can't see them. I can see them, I hope. I don't have my glasses. So it tells you how he was writing this book. And he was very young, by the way, when he was writing this. And I was reading this introduction. You have a sense of what's going on in his mind when he was writing this book, how it came to be and all that. A lot of people doesn't understand writing, and I think it's relevant to what we have been doing here for about 2.5 days. Anyway, anyone have a specific question or something they want to share or like a comment on? A lot of people out there have no fucking clue what I'm doing here, by the way. Is this NLP? No, it's not NLP. So if it's not NLP, what is it then? Well, it's not NLP. But if it's not NLP, then there has to be something else. Yes, it's not NLP. But I don't understand. I don't get it. I understand. That's why it's not NLP. It's not NLP. It's not. It's not NLP. It's not NLP. That's a word game, by the way. But it's also an expression of negation all that. So anyone, feel free to speak, or just yes.
I didn't get that part about they started killing pilots that came out of the earth.
Well, since they trained the kids to become extremely good, they changed the rules so they could adapt and become even better. Because the human race had sent out a number of spaceships, and they knew that they couldn't send another armada because it took about 30 or 40 years to travel to the alien homeworld. So they train the kids, so when the kids become ready, they could get into a space simulator, and when they have the space simulator, they were remotely interacting with the spaceships 30 light years out. And they had displayed of the aliens and how to interact and counter their attacks and all that. So the pilots of the Earth vessels, they had a limited amount of ships, so they had to be really, really good. But the kids had no idea this was real. It was just a game for them. And when they killed every pilot, every ship, by making a suicide run at the alien planet, they killed everyone. They killed the aliens, they killed the human pilots. But for them, it was just a game. And in the end of this game book, every human in the room was cheering because they had beaten the enemy, had beaten the alien race. And then this boy was like, what's going on? It's just a game. And when Andy realized that it was not a game, and it was real, that human people, he had, in a way, ended their lives. He couldn't live on Earth anymore. So he became a messenger or wanderer or something like that. And then he became, this book, The Speaker for the Dead in the future. It's a great story. It's, a lot of people neglect science fiction and fantasy because, well, there's a lot of people who write this stuff that's about the future. We can't travel to the stars, so people make up things that we can interact with and find funny or exciting or stuff like that. This has been my life for my whole life. This is science fiction. This is basically human communication and how we interact with other people and races, genders. So the kids had no idea what they were training for. Just they know that the adults was really bad people because they changed the rules all the time. And they won, they become the best of the best. Then they killed everybody, including the humans and the aliens. It's just a story, it doesn't happen. Just the mind of this author. But we can read it, we can in some way relate to it in a way, and human communication world. Because every human being on the planet, when they have a problem or something like that, they take up arms, take a gun, take a knife, take a stick. They don't go like, wow, man, now I have a chance to meditate on this. I can can really be at peace when all those people are arguing. People don't do that. Humans don't do that. Anyway, any other questions? Reflections? Or should I just be talking? This is kind of class I'm teaching, teaching people in Sweden to really, understand themselves, and when you ask them a question, if they can speak up or something, well, I don't have anything to say in the English language. If you need to speak in Swedish, I can translate that to English also. Om du vill prata på svenska och ställa frågor på svenska, det är bra också. Jag kan översätta till engelska. That was the translation in Swedish, what I just said in English. But they were quiet. Wow, this is a class of what's going on. If you don't understand this is a change of context. And we had 2.5 days, and some people are really going along well, I think, maybe. I talk a lot about self, spirituality, identifying with context, having fun, maybe. We had a girl here who was basically doing, since she was about 3 years old, doing the same thing in life, does work, it's just shit, does work, just shit. And she had no idea how to do anything else than that. And we've been working with her for 2.5 days. We're still not done, but it's almost done, right?
Right.
Another question? This is my marketing, by the way. God damn it. You speak about experience. A lot of people become self-conscious. Oh my God, he's speaking English now. Oh, I don't understand that so well. Oh no. And then I have to, oh man, I have to ask questions. But I don't have any questions to ask. Or should I ask a question? When we become self-conscious, which this class is all about, by the way, to become self-aware. Okay, I have my fucking experience, cool. Doesn't mean it, it's just my experience. And I become aware, I have my experience. That's what it's all about, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. And that's the thing here is when I talk about experience and what that's all about, the context, the future, and all that time, all that. So when I'm trying to tell people in my blog and my writing, all that, so when I'm holding a class and trying to get you guys explaining what you have been doing for 3 days, it's kind of hard to do that. First 2 days was pure boot camp. And today is just fun, interacting, learning about, okay, what's my experience here? Do I like my experience? Do I like my response? Do I like that? Do I not like it? Running and comparing mode, stuff like that. I like this book now. That's what I was reading about.
Can I borrow it?
No, you have to ask him this.